Ja, då går vi live. Oj.
Jävlar.
Så sitter du... You're riding like that, right? When you're planning your trips whilst riding using a paper map.
Yeah, I think that is the best part about this stuff. You just need a map on the tank bag, so you can just really figure out where you're going.
So, Matthias, are you going to open the beer or the live session?
I think I'm going to open the beer first. Today's topic, trip planning with a single M. How was that?
Yes, that was intentional. So, should we open this live then, perhaps?
Yes.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Good to see you again.
Cheers.
Oh.
That was a
I
nice
do not
one.
remember the name of the guy who recommended me the Jack Apple, but that is amazing. It's just...
Again, something
nice.
to do with that grinder thing, I think. Well,
Well, talking about trip planning, where do you find this Jack Apple? That is in US, isn't it?
Yeah, we actually got it here in Norway on Vinmonopolet as well.
Yeah, that's good. Otherwise, that could have been a really nice pinpoint of the map.
Yeah.
Where to get
Cool.
it. Right. So, what have we been doing since the last episode?
I went out riding, actually. We had one day of plus 6 degrees, I think it was. So yeah, that was warm enough. The longer you're off the bike, the smaller the criteria gets to get out riding.
Yeah, the big smile immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't ride here yet. It's still winter, so I don't kind of like you for that. It was completely unnecessary to bring up that video now when the winter is raging outside. It's winter storms, and I just got off a 48-hour shift at work, so I'm a little bit tired today, but it's been a great couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Everything has
From
a price.
Sweden with love, we send you.
You have a lovely landscape and the long winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Right. So today's topic then, trip planning. We're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Or we're getting
there's-
lost. I'm not sure what's best.
Yeah, actually, that's part of. We have to plan for getting lost.
Yeah.
Also, I
And
guess.
the adventure begins when it starts going as planned, isn't it? Like that.
Yeah. Or
when it stops going as planned, perhaps.
Yeah, it's
well,
opposite.
so
So I think we will get lost there. I think we had something to crack up this episode with. Are you going strict or loose on your plans?
Oh yeah, that is a good question actually. I'm going.
yeah,
I'm going quite strict in the beginning, but as the adventure starts, it's getting more loose as we go. But it's always good to have a plan as an initial plan before I go. But it always end up completely different from what I'm planning.
Yeah, I think that's typical. And you?
I mean, adventure and a day-by-day, kilometer-per-kilometer itinerary, they don't mix, in my opinion. If you're going on an adventure trip, you need to have some spontaneity, is that the word, and make room for things to go sideways, and also to change your mind along the way and go somewhere else and hook back and so on. So just follow the breadcrumbs that you laid exactly before is not my kind of adventure, at least.
No.
I guess that's why I don't like these commercial adventure trips where you can see day 1, day 2, day 3. On day 3, we will eat at this restaurant and we will sleep at this place. And on the way there, we will see the waterfall on the right side.
I was actually thinking about that before this podcast. Exactly just that. We have a friend out there that arrange travels, and I can understand if you do that actually if you're short of time and you just want to experience a country or so and the best of it. But I'm with you there, Rob. When you read that, you just get lost on it, I think.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of people. Yeah. I feel a lot of people want that. There has to be a reason why it's so popular. And like me, I really like to plan out my own adventures. But still, I feel like there's so many people that want everything just figure out for themselves, where they're gonna wake up every morning, where they're gonna sleep every day, and where they're gonna eat every day, and where they're going to sleep. And it's kind of like there's so many travel agency or adventure travel stuff that gives those packages, and it has to be a reason why it's so popular. Because I don't think people are they afraid of planning themselves, or are they just wanted to get most value for the money when they're first going on a trip like this?
I think so too.
I think that's the case actually, because you have 1 week or 2 weeks and you're going to Iceland, Morocco or wherever with this trip, and that sort of you will get the most action and you will find the right places and ride the cool stuff. But those kind of trips are, I guess, the opposite of what this topic is about, because this is about finding a place where you want to go when you've never been there before, and now we're going to plan for it.
Yeah.
And so let's say we pick a place that you have never been before. It's just to complicate it a bit with borders and stuff. It's a different country. So. And you know, something attracted you with that country, I guess. Did I just disappear?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Backed out, Rob. Yeah, I think you're. Still
never mind. But how would you approach that? Going to this new place, and I will try to fix my camera meanwhile.
Well, you want to start, Matthias?
I was just wanted to talk about that. I think we're thinking a little bit similar here. We could start with a rough plan and then we go banana somewhere on the route, and that always happens. But since we pretty much agree on that one so far, that makes me wonder a little bit how you ended up in that, because we have experience, all of us, from different kind of travels. So we must have done some mistakes or learned from the beginning how we end up in the type of riding. I can just speak for myself. I was roughly planning, but rather detailed. I had definitely points of interest that I wanted to see, and I ended up not seeing even half of it, or maybe a quarter of it, because I was like a time optimistic. It turned out pretty quickly to learn how to travel and do the ad rides after that.
I was my first
let's stay on the time thing, because I think that's one of the big tips to if someone's listening who's not done any trips before. You need the buffer of time, because I haven't done dozens of long trips, but each trip I made, I wish I had made either a longer time or less plans.
Yeah, I think that is quite similar to what I have experienced, but I haven't planned so many huge adventures abroad or down in Europe or stuff like that. But my first adventure trip I went down to Europe, and a friend of mine, Olav, he made all the plans and arrangement for where we're gonna go and all the Alpine pass we were going to pass before we got down to the middle
Mediterranean.
Yeah, knees. And he wanted to dip his toes in the water, and that was kind of like the initial plan. But after we were going, it's kind of like we didn't have enough time. For me especially, I got really tired because I was riding on a racing bike, and I really wanted to take more pictures because I was really into photography at that time. So it was like we had way too little time. We had too many kilometers going, or at least I had. So I learned a lot from that first trip going down to Europe, because it's like you say, Robert, it's kind of like you have two bigger plans, but you can't cope with all of it. It's kind of like you just don't have the time to see it all. So you kind of start rushing, and you started to stretch the days because you are tired, but you really need to go as so many kilometers each day to get up to the position you want, because of the days are planned like that. So I find it to be much better to back down on your plans, have a little less kilometers going each day, and put in a rest day or two in the trips, and try to enjoy more of the complete day, not only the trips or the riding, in a way.
But it's interesting when you're speaking about that with time, because I have done both. Just decided for myself how many hours I should be on the move on the day, just to not be in the saddle and see other stuffs as well. But I also have done the way of traveling, like I want to see the Alps and the Alp passes, and then I have put the bike on a train or just throttled all the way down maybe to Munich, and then start the real travel, just to not spend time on things that are not interesting for the moment then. So it's two types of doing this.
Yeah, and to what Thomas said about the guy who wanted to dip his toes, and that, so the time frame is one thing, but as you said, that don't make too big goals. I mean, don't hang the whole adventure on dipping your toes there, and that's the big goal, because you sort of count the days until you're there, and you sort of miss out on the trip there, because the trip is the adventure. And
but I think that is one important aspect as well, because we are so individual. Even if you go in a group, we have individual needs. So for me, example, on that trip, Olav, he was really interested in going as long as he could, and spend most days on the bike and trying to get as much impressions from the bike as possible. But for me, I wanted to take more breaks, and I don't blame him. It was more like the mix in the group was a little bit wrong. You will always have the people who want to ride long days, and you have some people that wants to stop and smoke in every corner, and you have those who wants to smell the flowers and take pictures like I did. So it's kind of like, I think the chemistry inside the group can need to be on the same plane or same level, and you really need to take the time for that group, the group specific. Or for me, that likes traveling alone, it's much easier to do long days if I want to, or just take short days and just enjoy everything around it. So I think it depends on who the group are, or the people you go with are really important as well.
That's a very important topic to speak about. I think Robert has a lot of experience to riding in group.
Yeah, but I ride alone. I love riding alone, because I like being alone. I'm very comfortable with that. But when I go, I have my team of the three other guys in Nomad, because we go back since the 80s, and we all have our bad sides, but we all like an old married couple. I'm not sure. I think it's overheating, this lady.
Yeah.
But we hang on, I'm going to fix it.
Maybe you need to lower the frame rate. Okay, I'm on this as well. I most often ride alone, but I have done a lot of trip down to Europe with friends,
Yeah.
Not many, just couples. Me and Bibi have been riding two up on my bike, and it has been really interesting to travel with others. We have different needs and different goals with the trip, so to speak. But we were very good before we started the trip to speak with each other and about this, what could happen and what do we do then, and that we accept that we have different needs along the trip, and that turned out very well. And I've done that with different type of group travels.
Yeah, and just to continue on what I tried to say, with my group, we go way back and we know each other's bad sides and how to deal with it. And we know, so we don't ever feel someone is pulling the pace down, or someone wants to see this or that. We have a really relaxed way. And it's really hard to find new old friends.
Yeah.
So I tend to stick with them.
But it's for me, it's also a matter of you really need to experience that for yourself to kind of understand it and feel it on your own. What is necessary, what you can accept from others, or what you really need to take care of yourself, because the group dynamic when you're on longer trips like that, it really needs to be on pair. If it's kind of, it's really easy to get conflict in the group if you are too far on the left side and too far on the right side. So for me, that trip I did, the first big Europe trip I did, I learned so incredible much, not only about myself but other people as well. And it's kind of like when you feel a little bit selfish, but on a trip like this, you really need to take care of your own needs as well. It's not selfish. It's just like you want to experience the trip as good as you can. And that's kind of like a part of the planning as well. If you're going with the new group, you really need to have an open mind and be acceptable of that. There will be huge differences. Yeah.
As well as always, communications is very important. Communication and transparency, what your needs are and others as well. Then it solves.
Yeah, and the best team is those who can just brush away disappointments. Something breaks down, let's fix it. And it starts to rain, whatever. I mean, just if you have a group that are positive throughout, then it doesn't matter if this one wants to see a church or that one wants to do whatever.
Yeah.
So staying positive is that mindset is the most important thing.
Yeah, but so now we'll speak about some basics here, mindsets and so on, and styles on how to do this. What tools are there out there if you want to see points of interests and so on to check out before you ride away?
Paper maps.
Yeah.
Paper maps.
Now,
we tell when you're lying.
I think Google Maps is probably the largest database of point of interest and reviews, and because it's a mix of bookings.com, trust reviews, and it's just a huge collectible that you can pinpoint every location you want to go to, and you can find highly rated stuff around in a big circle. So I use Google Maps a lot when I'm planning my trips.
Yeah. I do that too, Google Maps, but I before the trip I use Google My Maps, so I can create everything. I start researching. I can show you actually if you want.
Yeah.
Let's do that then. I can share my screen. Let's see. I just need to bring up the correct window here, and let's say Turkey here. Yeah, that's good. And I will share my screen somewhere.
Yeah, I have a screen. 2 seconds. Let me just see if I can bring that up. Shared screen. Yeah. But your camera missing again.
but I'll show this because this is showing, right? So this is from the latest Turkey trip. We start up here in Sweden, and then we go down. The main goal is Turkey. So I don't have much planned. I don't any routes for the entire trip.
The only plan on the way down was to have a barbecue at Dragos.
Yeah, exactly. So we just go down and we find our ways, and we make detours and take our time and so on. But we're for Turkey. I just make this map. I load the TET. I find other GPX files of the best biking roads in Turkey. I just make a lot of different points of interest. If I find something, I Google around and see whatever is available in that country. That's cool, and I put it on the map. And this is down. This is south, and I have something there. There's a mountain pass. Perhaps I'm not going there, but I'm just filling this map with all the stuff that I can find.
If you're on the way, you can always take a look at it.
Exactly. So on my mobile phone, I can and some of these tracks I load into the GPS unit and have them ready. Then we come down here. Here I ate something that made me sick in the stomach for a few days. We didn't do any of these. We got better and jumped on here, and then we cut this part. We just know available
but a question towards that
and
planning.
Around here.
Do you go into the main map and add it in what trip you actually made in the end and make that visible for later use, or did you just use that map?
We have an echo, guys. I see in the comment feed we have an echo right now.
Okay.
2
seconds.
Not what we hear, but okay. So this Google Maps, My Map, is a very, very strong tool to create travel and trip plans.
Yeah.
Do you, as all right, so are you with me here, Thomas?
Yeah, I'm with you. Do you just to ask the audience, are we still having an echo? Because I think it's my speakers that makes the echo.
It was only Rob that had the echo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
okay, if I talk now, is that better? Let's see if I speak here. Let's see if that's better. So, well, you can comment if it is. What I do here... Huh?
No, it's fine. No echo.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, that's good. So I go to Google Drive and I create a new empty map, more and Google My Maps. And on this is now an empty map, and I can just paint on whatever I want to, bookmarks and everything. So using that, I plotted everything here. Same thing with the Romania trip that we did. But I also record, as you mentioned, Thomas. I also record during the trip. So these are the recorded where we actually went. So I could overlay that.
Echo here, it's reported. It's not possible to hear what you are saying. They are reporting.
Who?
Okay, Matti? Sorry. I'll shut up for a while. See if I can fix it.
All right. So, Thomas, this looks like a very, very powerful tool.
Okay, wait. Give it a moment. I think because on my screen, I think I had the sound on from the screen recording. So I think the laptop is taking the sound as well as your microphone. So try again now, Robert.
Yeah. Okay. So. If you didn't hear me there, I can do it from the beginning a little bit, because we have these Google My Maps, which is not the normal Google Maps, but you have to go into Google Drive, and there you have your files and stuff, and you can create a new My Map.
Yeah.
and just start plotting around here and add Hansen's aunt or whatever lives there, and so on. So you just build this map, and so we're really spontaneous. We have this couple of weeks in the country, and we start going here, but there's no set days, trips or whatever. We ride until we get thirsty, find somewhere to stay, and we do that. We book somewhere to stay in the afternoon, so we know that let's go for 2 hours more, so let's book something online. We always book just a few hours before we get there, because there's always, even in the outback here, it's always something available. Then we start the next day, and if time goes on and we won't make it till here, well, then we just shorten it a bit. So
yes, you kind of fill up with A, B, C, and D plans, and just crank in as much information as you can to have options when you go into a place. You have if the weather change or if there's happen anything, you can always do A, B, C, or D going forward on your plans, right?
Yeah.
I haven't used that as much, but I used Basecamp and I use my route app, and I use a lot of different software to kind of make it all into a huge file. I throw up on Garmin Basecamp, and then I just take it over to my GPS, so I have it stored there, or I have it on my phone so I can transfer it easy when I'm on the go.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing now.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is interesting, Robert. Do you also use it during your trip to collect memories? So photos are also stored there with a GPS plot.
Yeah, but I don't have to do anything special with that, because all the photos on my phone are uploaded to Google Photos. I'm not I'm a Google guy, not because I want to, but it's convenient, and that's
but it's great.
Yeah, so everything goes up there, and then I can see a map on all the photos and positions and things like that. So that's the way we plan, at least, and so that's what's available. We don't make plans the exact roads that we're going to go, but it's all on a daily. What's the weather like?
Yeah.
Do we want to go on a steep Tet trail and the rain is pouring down? No, let's skip that and we go somewhere else.
But of course, now you have a YouTube account, and you're quite famous and popular amongst the adventure riders.
Good looking.
So, but do you use how to say, the power of being an influencer on getting local guides to tell you about certain areas you want to visit, or back roads that isn't available for everyone?
Sorry.
Was that a hard question?
No, I was laughing at something else. But that's a two-edged sword, actually, because I get so many suggestions and invites after the trip and when we release the video, because usually we don't say much about where we're going, because we don't want to make the trip sort of filled with dates everywhere and we need to go to that place and we promised that guy and so on. It's awesome. I just love meeting guys on the trails and on the roads and chat with them and everything. But I'm not so keen on making a lot of, unless there's some very interesting special thing, but we like to be just going on our adventure.
Yeah, I do understand completely.
I think this is very interesting question you have there, Thomas, because that's how I have planned in the past, at least. Reading at forums and the traveling tips and magazines and so on, whatever you have a source to getting influenced. Speaking with friends at meetings and so on. read about others' trips and get ideas to what to see, and then mix it up to your own trip. That has been my type of planning, I think, through the years.
Yeah, and like.
Then, as speaking about tool, I have used Google Maps as well, but I'm not sure. I have also planned in Map Source or Basecamp at the latest, but I very seldom use a GPX file for that kind of trips when I've been riding south, actually, except from if we plan some specific Alp pass or roads that is famous for motorbiking, for example, then it's been very interesting. Because
like
the later years has been, oh, what the hell, I'm on vacation. I don't need plans on vacation. So for one trip, for example, I wanted to see Normandy. Yeah, let's go to see Normandy. Have I seen Amsterdam? No, I haven't. Okay, let's take that on the way. And then from that, I ended up with circumnavigate France through all its border and to the Pyrenees. And the plan was I want to see Normandy, but I had time. I didn't want to plan more than that, even if I knew I had a few weeks more to spend. So that I think that was one of the better trips, actually, that we have done, because we didn't knew what to expect, and it turned out really.
But that is kind of like something you learn to on the go, because after a certain a certain amount of trips and stuff like that, you start to learn how to find the best roads or how to find the best experience. And as for me as well, it's kind of like to be spontaneous, to have I like to be organized. I like to have a overall plan. But every time I'm going those trips, I always try to be the yes man. I try to say yes to all invitation or things I get on the road. And that open up so many great experience and possibilities. And that's kind of completely off the compass. But in this digital age, there's a lot of routes that are open on internet, like the TAT and all other stuff. But I find that in that we have lost the way to communicate in between, like you and me talked about earlier, Matthias, with meeting up with older people that has been on the roads for years. They kind of share some of the trips, but the most valuable trips are kind of hidden, like not a secret, but they don't share it on the internet. So
especially with Trans-European Trail and Trans-Sweden Trail and all the American BDRs, I think they're called. And we also have the Rob, the ACT. Yeah,
ACT,
in Europe as well.
Adventure Country.
And this kind of things just makes people hold on their treasure, so to speak.
Like the last episode of my video thing in the mountain, I ran into a guy called Kjetil, and it's like, I know they have a lot of routes, and when you start talking together and you ask them where they're going, they kind of share some of the trips that are quite local and nobody knows about. So those kind of encounters you have on the benches around on the roads, or just even on like on Bukkerittet here in Norway, or like events, you really get to know people and get to know those secret routes that everybody kind of cherish for their own. And I think that is a little bit of a lost gem in this digital age. I think that people need to reach out to people more, talk to people more, and just get into the community and start sharing to get more of the...
That's a bit of the old school. I think I want to go back on the topic with the Trans-European Trail type of things. Before that, we had to make, if we go on that type of routes, not to just travel and see point of interest, so to speak, and certain goals to tip your toes into the Mediterranean or something. If you're going to adventure, for example, in Norway, Sweden, Scandinavia, you had to look for the gravel roads and forest road by the map source, for example, before you even had proper Google Maps.
Yeah.
And then you have to make all these trails by your own, and then share with friends, and they add it up in another region, so you could connect different routes to each other, and that is probably the beginning of that story. To be the TET, even if it's created from UK. This one, but I think it's very interesting because I have personally the last 3 years going on TET and TST, and that is just because I was so curious. What is this? What trails have they found or published? So I'm just been so curious on what it is, and I have recognized a lot of the trails because they connect different landscapes or provinces with each other, and then you came down to, I really appreciate it because it was so easy to download these GPX files and just go ahead and go out and camp in the forest and so on and enjoy other stuff than plan. So it has been great, but at the same time I see that one famous guy out there on YouTube, you know, Adam Riemann, when he was in the Balkans, he said, that TET riders, they're not really ad riders, they are itinerary riders. This is ad riding, and he turned off from the trail and just up in the mountains and so on. I think it was really cool because it's something like that.
Yeah, because GPX files take away something. It's convenient, and you know that you're most often going to see some really cool things, but following that GPX track in a way, it takes away a part of the exploration, adventure, and so on.
That is a really good point.
I say somewhat it does, because for someone never been in Scandinavia, for example, or any other country with these trails, they will explore and experience things they have not seen before. So it's a really interesting topic with many.
I think it's for me that in Norway it's really easy to know about a lot of routes, and the tracks here are quite familiar for the ones who had been into the community for a while now. But so when I'm in Norway and riding around in Norway, I'm quite explorer. I try to explore every road I come across that I don't know about or see on the GPX. I say, okay, this road I haven't ridden before. I need to ride this again. But going abroad, going to Sweden or going to Finland or going down in Europe, to have those GPX files, to kind of have a little bit of route towards what you want to see, that is so golden. To when you're not known or familiar in the country, it's so nice to have GPX files you can upload to follow if you lose track or if you don't know where to go. Because I find that if you don't have any plans, it's easy to lose interest or kind of get bored, or get homesick, or I don't know how to explain it in good English, but it's I have a much better experience traveling if I have a initial plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the plan is a part of the adventure actually, because you sit here in the winter and you plan what to do and so on, and that's
you get your hopes up.
A very important part, not to be foreseen. As well to be spontaneous. I can't take away that either. I can just go for the sun or whatever actually.
But don't you do any trip planning at all, Matthias? You just go by the wind, or?
Of course, I have done a lot of trip planning. What I want to see along the road, and then I could adapt along the road. Or even if I ride like the TET or TST. I modify it along the road just to make it my own. Or a strong recommendation for you out there that planning the TET for this summer, plan for detours. Do something else along the road as well, so you experience the country you're visiting. Because, for example, TET or TST in Sweden, you will only see forest. So you need to do the tours to see other things, like cultural things or something like that. But on the other note, living in for a big city in Europe, for example, let's say the Netherlands, with people everywhere, they just want to be in the forest when they come up here and sit there with a lake in front of them. I can totally understand that that's the only thing they need, and not another museum, for example.
But I think that it's a good point that you bring out there. It's just research and plan for detours. I think that is quite a good quote.
Yeah, even unplanned one, you maybe don't need to plan those either. You could make them up at the road. For example, this summer, when I was on the Norwegian Tet, very interesting. It's not a technical trail. It's a trail for views.
Yeah.
Really beautiful views and landscape.
I just have to say, it's so it's so damn funny to see Robert
here.
coming on and out all the time. What is going on? Is your camera overheating or what is it?
I think it's overheating, but I have to figure that out. First time it happens, the other streams have gone okay. Yeah. But one thing that I learned from the recent trips, we've gone through a lot of different countries, and that's a lot of borders and EU and non-EU and one new currency and kind of people and everything just so close to each other. And I think that a lot of people are hesitant, or perhaps not afraid, but they feel insecure in going through a lot of countries in Europe. That's what I've experienced, at least. And it's so undramatic. So once I did that, oh my God, we're going into all these Slovakia, Hungary, and Romania, Bulgaria, Albania, for God's sake.
All the corrupt police officers.
Yeah. And you're just so it hits you how easy it is. You need the papers. It's the papers. Your passport. You need that, and perhaps and for the bike you need the registration documents and the green insurance, sort of the bike green card. With that, you can go through all these EU, non-EU countries, and then you meet the people, and everyone you meet everywhere is always nice and helpful.
Yeah, that's my experience as well.
Yeah,
it works perfectly. You don't need to exchange currencies like you did in the past. Card works very good these days, and you have ATMs everywhere. But back to the papers there. You need, of course, your driver's license, your passport, your...
I don't know what this is.
Green card for the insurance, and you also, it's very good to have your healthcare insurance card as well.
There you go. Yeah,
it's
but
very good. And the registration papers on the bike as well. Have I forgot something?
I haven't been outside of the EU at all, so for me this is completely off territory. I don't have any clue. I had to do research myself if I want to go into Turkey, or I want to do a longer trips like that, because my family situation hadn't allowed me to go on those big adventures quite yet. But
but that's interesting, because how do we seek for that information, what you need when you go outside your own, let's say, European Union or United States or like that? When you go outside that, you go into there are a very good web page for that.
Yeah, probably.
I guess there are. I haven't been to really remote countries. East Turkey was the most, I guess. But what we do regularly, I mean, before this trip, we're going through a lot of different countries. There's some research you have to do. If you're camping, for instance, you need to check the laws for camping in those countries. If you have a drone, you should check up on the drone laws.
And
and if
Sweden
they
have probably
don't,
the hardest ones.
yeah, if but if I don't, this is not meant in a bad way, but in Eastern Europe and so on, they may have laws for things, but no one really cares.
Yeah.
So, but
you don't need to go to
find
Eastern
out
Europe
some
to do
things like
that.
that, and also highways. We usually stay off all the highways, even when we go through Poland just to go south. We don't go highways. We go the small ways, but some countries are really expensive if you go without on the highway without buying this little sticker that you
Yeah, the
put on your bike.
tokens. Yeah, there's Germany
and things like that.
Switzerland.
So
Yeah.
you should check that, and always have some euros or something in your pocket. But when we've gotten to these countries and if we just passing through, we never exchange money. And if we got planning to stay a week, we take out some cash, and we always have cash left over, because they take so many places, all the small petrol stations and so on, they take card.
Yeah,
I experienced that in
where
Norton.
you don't think they do that, and then you go back to Germany, and then you could be forced to run from the restaurant to a ATM to get money, and then get back before you get served. Yeah. And then you're in Germany. You could. That's another topic maybe, but that's interesting.
Yeah, I experienced that in Northern Italy as well. We just came over a mountain pass, and everybody really needed fuel. And when we came down there, it was just nobody living there. It was just a gas station. So we had to pay with bills inside like a dispenser to get the fuel out. And everybody had card, and we're coming from a country where we can pay with card for everything, and it was quite hard not to have cash, and just what the hell will we do? So we had to get another person to kind of pay for us, and we can charge him with the card afterwards. To have cash with you, that is probably a really good idea, because it's easy to get used to what we do in our own country and forget that all countries are not quite equal in that regard.
We ended up after a long day, and it was evening in remote mountains in Albania, and we came to a hotel, and that was the only hotel, and it was 2.5 hours one way to the closest ATM, and we didn't have any cash. So we want to stay here. We translated: sleep, eat, have a beer, and he didn't speak any English or anything, but we figured out that we don't have any money, but he said something like, we'll sort that out at a later time, so come and eat. So we got the beers, he got us food and rooms to sleep in, and then we managed with a bank transfer weeks later, with the interest, of course, because he was so kind. But you always get out of things like that. I mean,
as long as you dare to ask, or you dare to deliver yourself in that way, it always sorted out in a way. Because I feel like everybody asking me question, but I feel like the most hospitality I ever experienced was in my own country, to be honest. Every time I go abroad, it's like everybody is so nice, and everybody is trying to sort stuff out for you. And I always took that to myself and my own interest. I thought everybody who are in contact with me or trying to talk with me, I will try to answer them as best I can, or try to help them as best I can. Because I know how important it is or how valuable it is to get help when you're stranded somewhere in another country without talking the language or anything. So that is quite important.
That's very interesting. I think that we up here in Scandinavia, we are a little bit more introvert by nature, I think, and then you go south and people get all around you and have questions and very service minded. Maybe that have changed with the time, I think, as well. But something like that.
We up here we built society in a way that we don't need each other, so we don't have to help each other. But down in those small countries there where you think about the poor bastards living there, and then you get there and everybody seems very happy.
Yeah. And it seems like the less money people have, the more they want to give away. It's kind of crazy that way.
Yeah, because I think it's part of the way you live. You need to help each other and so on. And it's something that feels really good for us up here in the north. I think that remember how nice it felt to help someone.
Yeah.
But guys, speaking about the trip plan.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any plans for this season?
Oh, that is a tough one. I have way too many plans. I know that I have. I don't want to make any promises because I've done that in the past and I didn't went through it. So it kind of like it always bugs me. But this year I have so many plans. I know that I can't make half of them, but I try just filling up as much as I can in my calendar. So I know if one thing goes out, I can go to the other thing. So I try to overplan my year so I make sure that I can do as much as possible. But there's one thing I will promise. I will bring my camera and most of it.
Yeah,
Okay,
of course.
Secret plans there.
Yeah.
Would be nice to torture you, to let you out on a fantastic trip, but you cannot bring a camera.
Yeah, that I would probably not go. It's kind of like for me that the half of the trip is bringing the camera and trying to capture the moment and try to capture how I feel. It's.
I think this sounds that you need a trip like that.
No, but a lot of people, I get a lot of questions about that actually. Just doesn't it take too much time bringing up the camera, rigging up and down, and all that stuff? And yes, it takes a certain amount of time to do that, but to just be in the moment, to enjoy. For me, I enjoy the trip more when I can watch it through the lens as well. It's hard. I'm not sure if it makes sense for you guys, but for me, I experience the trip in a much more intimacy way when I can share it on camera as well. I just stop up and enjoy so many more moments than just rushing from A to B.
Yeah,
it's both actually.
I like that too because
both takes time and it gives you time as well, and it's fun. So it's in both ways.
Yeah. What are you planning this year, Matthias?
I will be the boring guy here. I will do like last year, and that is pending my wife, because I don't know if she's going to have a vacation or not. Yeah. And it was the same thing last year. So if she will have vacation, I will go up to Lofoten, Northern Norway, and I will stop and fish salmon in the northern Sweden.
I will call the police on you.
In the rivers up there. Yeah, and then I will go to Lofoten after that. But if that's not going to happen, I may do it on the bike instead of with the van. And if I go with the van, I will still have time on my own, and I don't know what to do with that time. But for sure, I will do something.
There is no chance you going up to Lofoten before me. That's out of the question. That's just not going to happen this year.
No, you don't know that. It could happen that we meet each other.
Yeah,
up there, so.
I would definitely go. I just cancel everything, make a sick leave of job, and just go up there. Just I want to be the first one.
I think that you need Lofoten without the cam then.
Yeah, I bring some chummy juice, and let's see what that will bring.
And Robert, what plans do you have?
If we talk trip planning, I cannot count many of the things, events and rallies and weekend excursions around here. But well, of course, we're doing the yearly Nomad big trip to another continent. We have looked at USA enough now. It's going to be too expensive.
Okay.
So we're not going there.
You're not going to America
this year. Okay. The Swedish crown is too invaluable, and the bikes to rent and stuff. It's too much money. So it looks like we're going to southern part of Africa. Not decided on South Africa, but we actually today started talking about Tanzania.
Oh.
Cuckoo.
The click language, isn't that from? That is brilliant.
Yeah, so something
in
like
the
that.
jungle, the mighty jungle.
Nice.
That's
My
Tanzania.
name is not
Do
Mobile.
the viewers
My name
a
is
favor
Mobile.
and talk.
We're going to meet Pumbaa and Timon then.
Yeah, but that is quite impressive. But because I really love to travel and to experience other culture, and for me, Africa is kind of one of the continents that is most exotic in a way. It's just so much richness and so much, it's just so many incredible sites in Africa that I really would like to visit.
Yeah.
But why did you switch from South Africa to Tanzania?
Two things, I think. At least one, and that's time of year. South Africa, starting in Cape Town, the summer starts in November and then it gets warmer, but it's much easier for us to go in August, and that's winter time down there. But just going a bit closer to the equator, and Tanzania looks like a really nice place, and the perfect season there is from June to October.
Oh, okay.
So that's the best.
Have you been in contact with any bike rental company in Tanzania?
I've been researching, and that's why having a YouTube channel is great, because I put out there, we're going to South Africa, and does anyone know anything? And that ends up with a great web meeting with a guy down there, not a commercial guy, but just someone who's been riding there for many years and knows a lot, and he just bombs with all the tips and tricks and regions and everything.
That is so valuable. It's just
but I think the timing there for the season, I'd like to do South Africa, but if we're going to Africa once, I think Tanzania will be more Africa.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
But what did you say, Matthias?
I see a comment here as well. Instead of renting a bike, have you been looking at buying about at the location and then sell it?
Oh, that could be.
For the US, that would be the cheapest thing, although it takes a lot of preparations and contacts, and you need to buy it and have someone living there would be easier, and then sell it and stuff like that would be easier.
Probably
to just...
the dealer could do it for you as well. You buy it at the dealer and the dealer buy it back if you're going from A to A, so to speak, on the trip.
Or you can do
that
kind of like the
option.
Mr. Beast thing. You just buy the bike and you give it away to a random person afterwards. That would probably give you millions of views.
A well-used KLR and then make it a giveaway in the end of the trip.
That would be so Mr. Nomad Beast thing to do.
That is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
That's trip planning. All right, so trip planning and a map. Who uses a map?
I'd like to use a map more, actually, because
I just want to state something. It's just like imagine yourself in a small tent, one person, and you just want to take a look at the route where you're going. Let me see. Who does that today? It's kind of like when you have Google Maps and everything. Yes, of course, you can lose satellite and all that stuff. So it's always good to have a paper map in backhand. Of course, I do understand that. But planning on a paper map, that sounds like so much work.
I think actually the map has something good, because if you're more than one who are traveling and you have a GPS or your mobile device and you look like this and you're planning and look what you do on the trip, it's it's if you're more than one, it's so nice to plane it or put it on a table and have a view together on a large map, just to see it in a bigger scale. But I think that's the only.
Yeah, but that is a really good point actually, because I actually brought me a paper map once, and I was sitting with the paper map in my hands on a camping site, and people came over to me and gave me really good advice just because I had a paper map. If I would take up my phone, I wouldn't get those advice, because they would probably think that I was busy, but they saw I was trying to figure out where I was going. So they came over and gave me great advice for the local trips. And that is something you kind of miss out on if you use your mobile device.
Because you can gather around the paper map.
Yeah.
It's a social thing. It's a great social thing, the paper map.
Yeah, but
even at the camp, if you don't know people around you, if you put up a map on the table and you just look around and look foolish, they will get there and point on you or point on the map.
Yeah,
I think it's great. Or otherwise, the typical motorbike maps also have the scenic routes as well, very nicely showed on the map.
Yeah, but then we're going back to the GPX route kind of thing, because most of the valuable routes are kind of off the main routes, if that makes sense. Yeah.
But it's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have something more on this topic that we forgot?
I think we.
Well, first thing I think is just sort of calm down with the planning.
Yeah.
Just you have this time, and normally the two things that are fixed are the time and the budget.
Yeah.
Those are
Mostly.
the things that normally I have this time because wife lets me away for 1 or 2 weeks, and then you have the money, perhaps for the same reason, and the rest is just go, man.
So the question is, if we're not restricted about time and money, what should we do then?
Oh my God! But then we talk about other restrictions like relations and family. And stuff
No,
like
I don't think that is a good idea. If you have all the time in the world, if you quit your job today, you leave your family today, and you have all the money in the world, you can just money, time, no issue at all. To don't have a plan, you will just end up going in a circle. I think you need a certain amount of structure and plan, because our lives are built that way. We need a certain kind of, not a set rule, but it's kind of like you need a little bit of planning all the way, because or else you kind of would lose it.
Yeah, I don't mean that you should just take the time and money and get on the bike, because you have some sort of route in mind.
Yeah.
But I mean that don't over-plan it, because I got a question a while ago over Instagram. There was some guy down in Europe. He wanted to go to Norway and back, and he was asking for a camping site in my region that I could recommend. And then he sent me his whole adventure planning for 19 days. And my suggestion would fit in on day 9 between this and that time slot that he had on that day for accommodation. And the rest, I read through it. It was pages after pages with each day 3 kilometers, fuel stop, then kilometers, then eat, then so the entire thing, just a flat tire would ruin everything, and he would say no to anything that he was suggested or anything. So that's over planning.
Yeah,
but maybe the planning was the whole thing, and then it went up well anyway.
I love planning. Planning is what you spend all the time just to pass the time until you.
In a way.
Yeah, that's dreaming. Yes. But
as you say, I have some people who have contacted me as well on riding the Trans-European Trail in Sweden and so on. and how much time does it take up there? My planet looks like this. What should I see? What should I do? And so on. It's great people out there that's contacting me. I really like that. So, but then I had reported back that, wow, I didn't make it more than to this altitude of Sweden, so to speak. Like not even a quarter of Sweden's length of the trail, so to speak, but they have a plan longer than that because they probably are not used to ride on gravel or forest roads, so they can't keep up the pace, so to speak.
But because I think
that's learning as well.
Yeah,
for the next
it's
time.
so easy to get hung up on the points of interest.
Yeah.
That, but because the great things that you have planned for your trip, you are going to do this and that there and so on, those are not the biggest highlights of your trip when you're back home.
No, indeed.
Things happen along the way that you will remember most.
Yeah.
Meeting people and taking that and
just an encounter
whatever.
on a ferry, or just kind of like sitting in the stop and a person comes over and talks to you. Just all those small kind of things. But I got a lot of questions about if I should, how many days does it take to go to North Cape? Should I go through Sweden, or should I go to the coastline and do that stuff? And I always try to say that always have a plan B, because the weather changes fast up here. And if you're going, if you plan to go the coastline and the weather is terrible, it's probably wiser to go in Sweden, go the fastest route up to the North Cape, and then go back down again on the coast to get the nicer weather. So I always say that even no matter how many highlights you have on the trip, always try to have two plans that you can mix between if the weather turns, or if you have less time, or if you just really need to just crank down behind a windscreen and just put in miles to get to the ferry or whatever it is. So I think
and that's why I think the North Cape trip is the worst possible adventure ride you could do, because that's just one big goal, and doesn't matter how fun you have on the way there. If you miss North Cape, you miss the entire trip, the goal of it, and so on.
And that is kind of like the manifestation you have in your head. You really need to reach that point, and that is why, because a lot of years planning and a lot of years riding my motorcycle, I have learned that the trip is getting there. Not getting from A to B, but the trip to in between A and B. So going to the North Cape, a lot of people have the North Cape as their main goal because that is the most northern part or whatever. But Andøya, Lofoten, Senja, the people around, also the areas around before you come to North Cape are so much more incredible, beautiful than North Cape alone. And people are actually riding 3 days through Sweden and forest and mosquitoes and crap just to get to North Cape, instead of just spending 3 days in Lofoten. And that just blows my mind. But you need to experience that for your own. You need to check that on the bucket list, and you have to experience it, and then you can go, okay, I did it, but I lost a lot of time going in Lofoten. I should go back there another time. So it's always good to give advice, but I feel like a lot of the stuff we do.
It is cool to have a goal to strive to. So you need to have one.
Yeah, it's learning by doing.
It could be the worst one, and it could be the best one to get there and see everything on the trip and interact. I think I will go back to that, because you mentioned that, Rob, with everything you experience along your travel and your journey, and that is a cool thing. If you travel alone or in group, you will have rather different experience, I think. In a group, you have the dynamic of the group, and you will remember things you did together and saw together and how you did it and so on. It's more difficult. It's generally more difficult to interact with others if you travel in a group or when you do it alone. So, but that's very, very generally speaking, of course. But it could be like that, because when you're traveling alone, you never need to be alone, so to speak. A wise guy told me, and that's so true.
Yeah, that is true. Absolutely, it's
very easier to interact with others because you don't have the team to talk to and so on, and you're not focused in the team. But that's not said that it doesn't happen. but it will be different, two different experience, I think.
Yeah, so just make sure that you plan for the trip so that you can complete it. If you're going through different countries, make sure that you don't forget any important documents. Like, I have to bring up Seymour this episode too. This is not about the backpack, but sorry, sleeping bag. But we go through Sweden, of course, leave Sweden. We go into Poland, and we cross into Slovakia, and we cross into Hungary, and we cross into Romania, and we cross into Bulgaria. And there they ask for the registration documents for his bike.
For the first time.
But there are no documents for his bike. I forgot. But I mean,
this is interesting.
One thing with customs, they see, I mean, we don't have a brand new BMW without plates on the trailer trying to get into their country. We come there on our bikes, some Swedish flags and things like that. But he wants us to be some other guy's problem. Yeah. So you have problems for 10 minutes just listening to him whining, and then he has to decide, should he put us somewhere, hold us and whatever, or just as in that scenario, he thought that there's another guy in the next stop on the other side of the border. They'll deal with it. And going through 9 more countries that trip, we never showed the documents, and there was no problem.
Yeah.
No.
So just make sure you have the money,
but
the
that could be
documents.
difficult in Tanzania, I think.
Change of underwear.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that, Matthias?
It could be difficult in Tanzania, I think. But now we are going to rent bike and not ride there. But so lessons learned from that, Rob, is that you're the captain, so you should check everyone's document before you go.
Oh yeah, that's the mature thing to do. You should be
since we're rounding up this live stream, I also think, I mean, every trip that you make, you come back with awesome memories. Regardless, but you also come back with a list of things that you will make better next time.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, you're learning by doing a lot.
Yeah, so sit down and think through your trip, and of course you want to relive it. You may have photos and think about your trip, and then make a list. What should I not bring in the pack next time? What should I bring? What should I do? And what should I not do? And just, if you're a beginner traveler, I think you are overthinking it.
Yeah, I think if I go into it through the years, 2 things, and that has been how I use the time, and as well how I pack differently next time. That is what have been refining through the years, I think.
Yeah, and the funny part is that I always make changes, and I'm going back and forth between stuff. So I'm never quite satisfied. So I always try new stuff every year. But it's almost the same thing every year, for me at least.
Yeah, but
we had one topic that we forgot as well. Sorry, take that again, Thomas.
Oh. What did I say? No, it's
I'm
you
sorry.
rearrange your packing for each trip.
Yeah, I'm always going back and kind of optimize my luggage, my tent, my knives, my coffee, my everything. It's kind of like I always try to adjust this a little bit to perfection. But then I go on a new
updated paper map and so on.
Yeah, and then I go on a new trip, and then I experience new stuff. So I go back to the stuff that I took away and bring it anyway. And yeah, it's kind of like a circle going back and forth between the most.
It never ends. You improvements every year. I was into another thing that we discussed before as well, tent or not, camp or not, so to speak, hotel, bed and breakfast, or tent or hammock and so on. What are you thinking about that?
For me, I have not.
Give me 1 second. I really need to take a piss.
Yeah, you do that. I'll entertain them meanwhile. Well, as you may have seen in our movies, the latest long trips where we've gone through more than 10 countries and 10,000 kilometers and so on, we did not bring the camping gear. I love camping. I'd like to go camping like in Romania with the cute little black bears and things like that. But on those trips, we've gone through Eastern Europe and Turkey, and a nice place to stay with breakfast and everything is cheaper than a tent spot in Western Europe.
Yeah.
And then we want to go on Trans-Euro Trail and stuff like that, and just having your underwear in the backpack there, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I agree, because I've done it both ways, both here in Scandinavia with just packing for bed and breakfast, and that's really nice, as I say, because you get even down to the even narrower trails than the Trans-European Trail, and go for those. And every year when I have gone south, down to the Balkans and to the Alps, we have never had anything else than packing for bed and breakfast, so to speak. The first year was the mistake to bring towels. That was one thing that why did I bring that? And we stayed.
What did you bring?
Towels.
I
thought I need towels, And then,
hair dryer.
When I was in the Mosel Valley in Germany, this was on the way back home. I just throw the towels that we haven't needed because every bed and breakfast had them. I throw all my socks and underwear just to get like 6 bottles of wines with me from the Mosel Valley.
Okay. Yeah, prioritize.
For the trips after that, I didn't bring the towels at least. But that's interesting. But in the north, up here, it's. I think it would. If you ask me, it would be stupid to not hammock or take your tent and really wild camp along the Trans-European Trail. And that's not, of course, the campsites need their money as well, but I think that's a great part of Scandinavia as well for others that don't have the opportunity.
Especially in Sweden. Wild camping in Sweden. That's why you camp in Sweden.
Yeah. But I got a little thing about that exact thing, because I got a lot of questions, because I try to do a lot of wild camping. I try to stay on my hammock or in my tent, and I always try to spend some time on campsites as well. But it is easy to forget that a lot of people fight with a lot of issues when it comes to being, I wouldn't say scared of the dark, but they are unease with a lot of sound and noises and wild animals and all that crap. So I can understand that traveling alone, wild camping in a foreign country, can be quite difficult for somebody. Even if they're not scared of the dark, they can have demons they're fighting or have experienced stuff. A soldier coming home from the war, a police officer, or a nurse that have been working over. There's so many issues that people have to fight.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
So for me, at least, I try to welcome, because I find that to be quite relaxing. But I do understand that that can be difficult for many.
Yeah, but that is not what to say. If you bring all that camping stuff and you see that it's not that convenient and comfortable that you have had in your mind, then you have the cabins or bed and breakfast.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So
but I'm not sure what you guys talked about before when I was in trying to fight that little small forest fire. But when we're going down in Europe, like in Germany or Italy or other countries, it's quite expensive to camp. You go to a campsite, you need to pay for the place you put up the tent, the parking, the people they're staying there. So it's much cheaper for a Norwegian guy to go and visit bed and breakfast compared to a campsite many times. I don't think a lot of people up north knows about that. So if I go down, I would skip my tent and I would just go for bed and breakfast or hostels or surf coach surfer.
Coach surfer?
Is that an app for that as well?
But when you travel in Norway, then you have the cabins.
Yeah. Cabins are quite cheap as well in some of the campsites, but it can be expensive in the high season.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So I guess we're closing in on sort of 1 hour. We passed that 20 minutes ago. So any final words? My final words are: don't overthink it. Just make sure that you have the papers and stuff. The rest will sort it out by itself, and people are nice everywhere.
Yeah, and do research, a lot of research, and just go on adventures.
Yeah, I will take away something cool here, since Rob is such an influencer out there. Dynamic watch, really cool route planning tool.
Oh, yeah,
I use that one.
You can also have a lot of cool layers in it with all the gravel roads just marked up this nicely.
I don't use that because I don't like Robert.
And the heat map and so on. I think you're a good influencer, Rob, here. I take away that from this episode and planning for it, really. And then I would say to all of you others out there, one wise guy here in the comments told us in the middle of the week before this episode, the sun is going up in the east and down in the west, in the north. In the middle you have the north, turn around 180 degrees, go south because it's damn cold up there. And just go. It's a lot of rivers to follow, and you just follow those.
That sounds like Sam.
Or something like that. Yeah, it sounds like Sam. I like that.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Thanks for that, Sam. I'm very much of that.
But should we leave a cliffhanger for the next episode, or should we just keep that secret?
Let's keep that secret so that we can change our minds.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point.
Like the North Cape, you mean?
Yeah. Okay, then it's just the last cheers before we go offline. So thank you all for visiting us, and see you guys in the next one.
Please comment on this topic. Yeah, I think you have a lot to say. Bye.
See you guys.
Cheers.